my back of the pack ultra guy. This is going to be a lot of fun. I've got Steve Epifano on the podcast this week, and if I said that wrong, please correct me when I turn the time over to you. But you've definitely seen Steve on Instagram and love his stuff. Um, Also crazy. I lived just down the way from where he went to college for a little bit. Super crazy small world, especially if you're talking about anything West Virginia. That's even smaller. But without further ado, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Steve. Why don't you just
Yeah,
tell us a
thank you.
little bit about, where you grew up and how you found running?
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on. Um, yeah, so I'm from Southern Jersey, like right outside of Philadelphia on the New Jersey side. I was a runner in grade school, like high school, and then like halfway through high school, I moved over to football. I probably should have stuck with running because I practiced a lot of football. I didn't play a lot. Um, and then in college, I just drank a lot and got 30 pounds heavier and really didn't run much at all. And then after like a health scare in like 2013, where all I could do was run. So I was diagnosed with a bicuspid aortic valve and aortic aneurysm.
Wow.
Um, so with that, like you're not allowed to lift anything over 10 pounds. You're not allowed to do like I said, heavy lifting or anything. So I couldn't do any of that fun stuff. But they were like, you could just do light cardio. Um, and they also told me that I probably wouldn't run anything over a half marathon. Um, so I was like, okay, if I can only run a half marathon, I'll just focus on what I can control, and I just run really easy pace and keep my heart rate under 180, and just kind of go from there. But little did I know back then, that's when I was just building a huge aerobic base the entire time by just keeping my heart rate really low, doing easy effort runs, and eventually that just kept clearing me for more and more. Cleared me for my like first marathon in like 2018, and then I did my first
Nice.
ultra in 2020.
Right on.
Yeah,
Would you mind telling us a little bit about the diagnosis you were given and how you found out about it? I'm no medical person, but I've never
yeah,
heard of that. But that sounds scary.
yeah. I mean, it was scary at the time. It's still kind of scary, but they check up on it. They usually do like every 2 years now. But when I first was diagnosed, it was like every 3 months. They wanted to see if it got bigger, and then every a year, every 6 months, every year. Now they moved it to every 2 years. Um, it's so in your valve, your aortic valve, you have three leaflets that kind of like looks like almost like a three-leaf clover that open up. I have two, so it's like football shape, so it opens up like this. And then sometimes with that comes an aortic aneurysm, which is just like just it builds up like almost like a balloon that's like squeezed. So most people don't know about it until it's too late and it's already dissected. So after it gets to a certain size, they like to replace the aorta and the valve. Um, when I first was diagnosed, they made it seem like I was going to be on the operating table like 3 weeks later. Um, but thankfully, through running and everything, it actually looks like it's gotten a lot smaller, the aneurysm, because of
Oh,
my heart's just a lot healthier. Um, and there hasn't been a whole lot of, at least to my knowledge, extensive research on endurance athletes and this phenomenon, this diagnosis. I know there's one other athlete I saw in like a Running World magazine, I think it was, that have done. He's done like 100 miler with the same thing that I have. It's really manageable. I mean, I could have like a lot worse things, but it really was kind of scary at the time. Um, but it showed me where I could focus on what I can control versus what I can't control. So they're like, all you could do is run. So instead of thinking about all the things I couldn't do, I would just was like, all right, I'll just go do the best what I can in terms of running. So, and then
right.
they, like I said, just kept clearing me more and more.
And I like what you said. It's like you just built an incredible aerobic base where it's just like they're like, you're gonna be this zone two monster. You're gonna come out
Yeah,
of this thing like zone two for days. I love it.
yeah. I had no idea what I was doing back then too either. I was like, but now looking back on it, I was like, well, I'm glad you did it that way because you're just building a huge aerobic base for like
Yeah.
10
Well,
years.
but that's I mean, I'm guilty of this, and I know interviewing the people I have and just talking with other people, that's the hard part about training and like upping your mileage, upping your speed is like that's what holds a lot of people back, where they're trying to get so fast, so quick,
Yeah.
versus like where you were put in a position where they're like, just build a real solid low heart rate base, and coming out of it, that's what most people need to be doing anyway.
Well, yeah, yeah, absolutely. Now that I'm a coach, I know that's exactly what you should be doing. So I just, with all my athletes, I preach patience, and it just takes a really long time to build up that aerobic base. And then once you start building it, you could pivot to anything. You can add speed work on, you can add more mileage on, more distance on, more time on feet. And then that's how you kind of tackle everything. But if you don't have that aerobic base, you can't absorb the speed training. You can't absorb like the hill sprints, stuff like that. So I'm a huge proponent of building like a giant diesel engine.
Yeah, I love it. So you get this diagnosis, you start low heart rate training. Um, what was the first race that you ended up doing?
First ultra or first?
Just first, 5K, 10K,
Yeah,
whatever it was.
it was a first 5K. I think it was way back in like 2013 or something like that. It was like a local 5K here, and that's kind of where, I mean, 5Ks are hard. I mean, I think any distance that you race is hard, but 5Ks are like a heart attack that you survive, I think, if you're really trying
Yeah,
to go all out to it. But it just felt great getting back to running and running somewhat competitively. It was just a local 5K with like probably 50 people for a local church, which was, I was like, oh, this one's on the calendar is perfect. And then
yeah,
just kind of got hit with it. And then I was just doing 5Ks and then half marathons over in Philly and stuff. There was the one of my favorite ones. It's no longer around. It's called the Odyssey Run in Philadelphia. It was up by like Fairmount and went through Fairmount Park and everything. It was just an awesome half marathon. I think he did it like 5 years in a row.
yeah. I've spent a little bit of time in Philly, and I did the Rocky half
Yeah,
marathon this past year. Man, I was so shocked. It was packed. There must be like a real running presence in Philadelphia because there was a ton of people. It was
yeah, it's a
awesome.
huge running community. They really built it up to be. I mean, the Philly Marathon's huge. The Philly Half Marathon's huge. They built it up really well out here.
Super cool and just great energy. And
Yeah,
obviously, if you're a Rocky fan, you just are crazy about it. But just the amount of people, it was so cool. Just everyone was having a great time. And yeah, I mean, it's not that I know anything about Philadelphia, so I was just so surprised and happy. I was like, this is great. This community is huge. So, I mean, Philadelphia doesn't scream ultra. So how did you find your way into, you could do one there, right?
yeah. So I actually moved to Southern California in 2019 with my previous employer. Since I was VP of supply chain, and then a director of supply chain, worked my way up to VP of supply chain, and then eventually COO of the company. And
Nice.
we moved out in 2019, well, in part because I was like, my CEO is moving out there, and I was like, I will be working till like midnight on the East Coast if I don't go out there with you. So I might as well go out there with you. And then through that, I found my first ultra out there just kind of randomly. It was the Orange Curtain, the Cerritos Orange Curtain out in.
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, it's like a real old school ultra. They do a 50K, I think a 12-hour and a 24-hour race, and then also a marathon too. So I
Nice.
was going to sign up for the marathon, but I was like, hey, why not? I just read David Goggins Can't Hurt Me. So I was like, why not just go do a 50K? And that was like right before I started getting my coaching cert in 2019. So actually, it was like 2020, February 2020 or something like that, right before COVID hit. And I ran it like a marathon. I had no idea what I was doing. I wasn't taking in any real nutrition. I was just drinking Tailwind barely. But I finished it, and I was like, I told my wife, I was like, all right, I think I'm done. I think I did it, the 50K. Because I remember pulling up and getting my bib the night before, and there was all these people running back and forth. It's just a 10K out and back. It's 5K out,
Mm.
5K back. So I just saw all these people in light up vests just running back and forth, and I was like, what are they doing? And then she looked on the website and she was like, well, they have like a 24-hour race too. And I was like, why would anybody run for 24 hours? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Um, I think I'm just going to do 50K and then I'll be done. But I did. And then I think it was that next year I did my first 24-hour race. I was like, it got me hooked after the 50K.
So I personally have never done a 24-hour race, Steve. I have no qualms about them. I think they're amazing. I think they look
Yeah.
incredibly difficult. I've just never signed up for one. Give us like a comparison for someone like me who's never done one. Compare it to like a long, one of those longer ultras. What is it like? The bigger differences.
Well, I think depending on what you're doing, the ones I did was the Jackpot Ultra in Vegas. It was the real one that was an old school one, and then Aerovipa bought it probably like 3 years ago, I think it was. So they have everything there. They have the 100-mile USA Track and Field Championships there the day before on a short course. It's 100 miles on a mile course that's pretty flat. And then the next day they start the 12-hour, 24-hour, and 6-hour, I think it is. But it's kind of like a mental game because you're just doing 24 hours around I think it was like a 3.3 mile loop around this park. And it was pretty flat. There was like one, I would say, significant hill is like probably 20 feet or so or something like that. Uh, and it's the first year I did it, it was my first 24 hours, it was like 95 degrees and 50
Oh
mile an
yeah.
hour wind gusts. So, um, but I think I actually like that a little bit better because it gives you something to fight against instead of it just being completely flat and boring. At least with the wind there, you had something to fight. And I was able to do 100 miles, 100 plus mile, maybe like 103, 105 in 24 hours.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you. And it's like a completely different ball game than doing a 100-mile trail race where the terrain's varied. Um, you get a lot more overuse injury, I would say, on like a one of those track or just loop courses or a flat 100 miler because it's the same motion over and over again. You
Yeah.
really didn't change your motion, change your stride. That's why I like trails because one, it kind of keeps you awake. I hate now. I'll just fall asleep on anything that's flat. Even in a 200, I'm usually falling asleep on something that's flat. Um, but at least on a trail, like allows you to change your gait a little bit. You're always looking. Your ankles are moving different ways. Um, but that flat is just like eventually something's going to start flaring up because you're just using it over and over again. There's no real way to change your gait for it. That's really
Yeah,
the main difference that I've seen.
that makes a lot of sense. I've never even considered that because in a mountain ultra, you're going up or down, flat
Yeah,
maybe a little bit, but it's up or down, and the elevation varies all over the course, and yeah, you're definitely using a lot different muscles, um, having that variety. I've never even considered that. That's interesting.
yeah.
Um,
And
I don't
the
think I'm fast enough to overuse
there's still a lot
but
of walking going on.
yeah, right.
And the DNF rate in a loop course is a lot higher than like a point to point
I could see that for sure.
because like you just come around, especially the 3.3 mile loop, your stuff is there every 3 miles, and you have a tendency to want to sit a little bit more because it's there. So you got to. It takes a lot of discipline and mental energy to like get up and get out and make sure you're not. Because if you're sitting there, there's I think it was like it took 48 laps to hit 100 miles. So if you sit for 5 minutes for 48 laps, it's 5 times 48. That's like over what 200 some minutes. That could be
Adds
the
up.
difference between 100 miles or not.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I feel about looped courses, something like Cold Water or Jackass, any one of these races.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry, Jackass. That's an aid station at Javelina.
Javelina.
Javelina. Yeah. Because at least I'm the type of person that I'm like point to point, and I'm just mentally checking off the aid stations, checking off the
Yeah,
crew points. Oh, I'm getting closer. I'm getting closer. Whenever I've done a looped one that's like 5 loops, washing machine style or something like that, it's like, okay, I'm back here. My car's right there. Like maybe my aid
exactly.
station's at the car. It's like Ooh, yeah, this is so I could totally see that the mental game at the circles, the loop courses rather being incredibly difficult. You know, not to say mountain hundreds or these longer hundred ultra races aren't hard, but at least for me, that point to point, you're just checking off those checkpoints, and you know you just keep rolling because there's no way to
Yeah,
get back.
you got the only way back's forward. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. So you do the race that ultra in Southern California. You kind of tell your wife, I'm not doing that again. I've heard that before for myself
Yeah.
and tons of other people. But what brought you to the next one, the next race? Because you know you're saying I kind
Yes.
of don't want to do this anymore. But then what
Yeah.
brought you to the next one?
So I actually my right before that race happened, one of my best friends from West Virginia, he passed away on his bike. He was hit by a driver who was texting.
Oh, I'm
Um,
sorry.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So I wanted to do something for his family. Um, so that was that next year. So he passed away in February 2020. Um, so I had just run that one, and all I know is running at this point. There's really nothing I can do. So I started a GoFundMe, and I was going to do a self-supported 100K. I say self-supported, but it was my crew chief and my wife who always supports me, um, just around my house. And I wanted to raise money for his family for Christmas, and to have a good Christmas because it would be the first one without him. Um, and I posted that on Instagram, social media, and stuff. And then I actually found in with the um, Jeff and Jeremy, who were the ultra running guys. I don't know if you remember them. They
Oh,
did a podcast out of North Carolina.
okay.
And they started their podcast by interviewing me about this, and it was like a 5-part series about this
Nice.
endeavor that I did to raise money for Robin and his family. And they actually got me hooked up with like the entire running community because I was a solo runner at that point, just kind of doing stuff myself. And I think if I didn't connect with them, I probably would not have seen like grown the circle this way because that's how like you just get it just immediately becomes a way of life and you just see all these people, meet all these friends. It's like one of the good things about social media is you're like, hey, that guy runs, that girl runs. We're like friends now, and you see them at races
Yeah.
and everything.
Yeah.
So I did that 100K. It was just around my house. I just did like a 50K. Was it like a 15-mile out and back? And then I just did just a couple loops by my house to do the 62 miles. And I thought that was hard because it was hard. I was wrecked
Yeah.
after that. Um, but it was really fulfilling. One because I had like a why that was outside of me, and it wasn't for a medal or anything like that. I just kind of did it for myself and for Robin's family. And then I was like, okay, if I do this myself, I can kind of do anything really. So then I just started looking for more and more. And I was like, oh, there's a 24-hour race. I said I would never do it, but and my wife is like, just she's the supportive to almost like a fault to where like now I have to do it. Where she's like, just do it. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, now if I say it, she'll say just do it, and then I just have to go do it. That's the thing. Um,
It's
so yeah,
awesome.
I just kept building from there.
So that I mean that's incredible. I think the running community is so special, and it's just a reoccurring theme on this podcast and a ton of other podcasts, and just with everybody that the community is fantastic. The running community at large, but specifically the ultra community, is so fantastic. And I've done fundraising type stuff. I've been a buddy of mine did like an impromptu one to raise money for some flood victims, and just the donations just pour in. You're just like,
Yeah,
these people are amazing. You know,
yeah,
you don't really know them, and they just kind of come out of the woodwork and just really help you make your goal. It's so awesome.
yeah. It's incredible, and it's like one of the only communities that I've seen. I mean, I love the running community all around, but it's a little like the ultra community is a little bit different from like the marathon, I would say, like where people are pretty competitive. They're competitive in ultras, but everybody wants to see everybody succeed.
Yeah,
And you can like come as you are, come as weird as you want to be, all that kind of stuff, which is great. And it's really just you versus the course instead of you versus everybody else, and everybody just wants to see because there's like everybody out for the DFL like all the time. They're always
Yeah.
back. You always see the pros back out for the DFL and stuff like that.
Very true. It's exciting stuff. I just like I said, it's a recurring theme on the podcast. It's just and I like that it is because I'm trying to gear this towards people either just finding ultra or just maybe been in it for a little bit and maybe haven't found somebody. I know when I first
Yeah,
started, I just had a buddy of mine that we were kind of just doing ultras together, and you just start meeting people, and that now you're like integrated in this new community, and
yeah,
it's really a great thing. I love it. I just hope that spreads and continues to spread, and like they say, keep Portland weird. Let's keep ultra running weird, and
yeah, exactly.
inclusive, and everyone's all about it. So the 24-hour race, you ended up doing it.
Hmm.
Uh, how is that the one you already described a few minutes ago? Yeah. Okay. Cool. So after that one, you don't seem like the type of guy that's like, yeah, I did it. I'm done. Where did you go from there?
So there, I think that was like uh, my stepping stone because that would probably have been 2021. Um, so then, what the heck was it called? Cocodona was just going off, so I didn't do it that first year. I think if I would have done it that first year, I probably would have DNF'd. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I just wouldn't have been that year stronger. So basically, 2022, I really didn't race much. I decided that I think I was just talking to my wife again, where I was like, I think I want to run Cocodona, and she's like, okay, just go do it. We'll figure it out. And that's kind of the theme. We always just like set this. I usually set the big goal first, and then figure out how to get there as I'm doing it. That kind of thing. And I still went into that pretty naive. But I think I took most of 2022 off of racing. I may have done like the Black Canyon 50K in Southern California, and that destroyed me too. That was like my first 50K trail race. I thought it was going to be a breeze, but once it added 5,000 feet of elevation
Yeah.
across the 50K, I was like, oh, trail running
Yeah.
is a completely different thing.
Yeah.
Um, but by then, I had already started like my coaching cert, which was for me. I just wanted to learn more about the sport myself so I could get better. I was like, if I'm going to go do this thing that's Cocodona, I should probably know how to approach it myself. So I don't know if you can hear the dogs; they're going
No,
crazy.
we've had kids as guests on this. Yeah, this
That's
is
funny.
family, pet, inclusive.
Yeah.
Everybody join. We're good. You're good. Um, well, so did you do Cocodona in 22 or 23?
22. I did it in 22, 23, and 24.
Okay, cool, cool.
Yeah.
So 23 was my year, and so your year would have been the one where they had to change the first year, the beginning of the
Yeah.
course. Yeah. Okay.
Because of the fire they had.
Yeah. And I
Yep.
say my year like I own the race. No, the year I did
Yeah.
it.
And that's why I wanted to go back in 2023
Yeah.
because I was like, I have to do the real course. I got to get that first 36 miles in the Bradshaws out of the way so I could say I actually did the real course. And then I was like, in 2024, I was like, well, I might as well do it another year.
Yeah.
And I just didn't get into the lottery early enough for 2025. So I was like, I paced one of my friends out there. So
Nice. Nice.
yeah,
Well, if you don't mind, Cocodona is just it's special for me. I think anyone who's done it, it's special for. But I've talked about this on the podcast before. I think there's something just that's so special about it that you're not even a runner and you feel it. I mean, I've talked to one of my guests, Dakota. He lives up in Flagstaff, and he was so influenced by it, just being around it, like race week. He started training for it, like not even really running at all. And then he's like, I'm going to do this thing. So it's really special. So I'd love to hear, your take on Cocodona, a little bit about the race, that you had, because I just think it's so special and people love to hear about it. But,
yeah,
let's hear about that first year.
yeah. So I mean, the first year was I think I really like it too because um, it's like one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life, and that's why it's special to me because it showed me that if you're dedicated, if you put the training in, you have to trust the training and then just rely on even in the race, control what you can control. There's some things like the weather you can't control, so I mean, you could complain about it, but it's probably not worth it because it's just kind of wasted energy. But just focus on the little things like that you can control. That's really why I like Cocodona in particular and 200s is because it's really just a lot of problem solving. But Cocodona and the first year, I think I probably ran way too fast of a 50K like most people. I just felt really good. But then you get smacked with oh crap, I'm 40 miles in and I have 210 miles left. Now what? So it's just all those highs and lows that you get. It's just a lifetime of learning in one race. And just the terrain changes that you have. You go from like desert, incredible mountainous deserts to pine trees, back to desert. Sedona is incredible. Um, I think I love every single part of that course except for Munns Park. I'm not a fan of Munns Park because the first year almost got me on that out and back because the course was changed. It was like
Yeah,
a 10-mile out and back where you just go punch your hole in your bib and come back. And I was just sitting at the aid station like I think I'm done. Like I can't.
yeah.
that was brutal. Um, but yeah, you just find a way to keep going. And that was the first time in a big race like that where my mind and body both your mind and body both agree like hey we shouldn't take the next step and then just for whatever reason you find that next step and that's I think I've just been searching for that ever since I just any race I do I try to find that spot where it's everything in you agrees to not go forward and you just keep going forward. That's why I love Cocodona, just because there's so many things to battle. This year everybody was heat trained and it was cold and rainy.
Oh,
In
yeah.
2025 it was miserable.
Yeah, I mean, I heard people with hypothermia and
Yeah,
yeah, it just insane stuff.
yeah, mud all over the place. So you just never know. That's why you gotta train in anything. Like if it's raining out in Southern California, the one day it rains, I'm like I'm gonna go for a run because I never know what the course is gonna bring.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
I
really enjoyed Cocodona a lot. I
I
mean,
like
I
what
would
you
say I
said.
guess enjoy would be a little bit different.
Well, it's kind of that type 2 fun, right? While
Yeah,
you're doing it, it's not enjoyable, but then you're done and you're like, God, that was you like look on it like so romantically. It's like, God, that was
yeah,
so
that's all
good.
you remember.
And then my wife was there and my friends were there. Oh, yeah, that was so fun. And then you like could rewatch a video of you and you're like, oh, I look miserable.
Yeah, yeah. I did not look like I was having fun. Oh,
Right.
it's crazy what your brain remembers. It's only the good things. It never
Yeah,
remembers any of the bad things.
that's true. I think one thing that stood out to me when you said that, and I've never heard it described in that way, where your mind and body are in sync that you shouldn't do it anymore. Like,
Yeah,
hey, we both had a meeting and you're not supposed to do this anymore.
yeah,
And it's like, nope, no, we're going. See ya.
yeah. So
Sorry.
whatever your why is, or if it's outside of you, or if you have like that intrinsic motivation, or whatever it is that gets you to that next step, that's like the best spot ever.
Yeah. That's so true. And I've I've never really understood the why personally me, and I've heard it for so many years. You know, you got to have your why. You got to have your why. And I think I had my why. I just didn't even know what it really was.
Yeah,
I have a podcast coming out where I interviewed a gal. She's a therapist, and she's also an ultra athlete. And so it's kind of like a therapy session. But I learned a lot in talking with her before we started the podcast and during recording about like, oh, that's what was driving you. Oh,
yeah,
and once it goes, you realize really quick that you had a why, whether you knew it or not. For me, I didn't know what it was. It wasn't like I'm fighting for my children. I'm fighting
yeah,
for world peace or something, which are both great. are both great things, but until it was gone, I never really knew what that driving force was or that eye of the tiger, you know, what was for me. So
Yeah,
the why is really interesting to me. I mean, what do you think about that? Have you always known your why, or did it kind of slowly come to you?
I think in the beginning, I think it changes too. The more you do
Mm,
races and the more you kind of mature in the sport or whatever you're doing. Because before it was proven the doctors and the surgeons wrong that I'm going to go way further than the half marathon. But now I feel like I've done that. Like I checked that box because they said I wasn't going to do a marathon, and I've done, I don't know, 4 or 5 official marathons and plenty more in training. And then I've also done a 250-mile race. So now I think it's just seeing where the limit is for myself. That's kind of my why, and to show, and I think that's a good thing too for your kids, just to show my kids that like it's okay to push yourself, not to the point of injury, but it's okay to push yourself. And just the day and age that we're in now, where everything is so comfortable, it's okay to be uncomfortable. Like we tell our kids all the time, if it's whatever sports or school, like it's okay to be uncomfortable at points. You'll get past that, but you just have to sometimes like learn how to live in that uncomfortability. It's just
yeah,
your brain telling you, hey, this is something new. We got to figure it out. And that's what I really like that too, to be able to show them that hey, like this, you could do hard stuff. You just may have to be uncomfortable for a little bit.
I love that. Yeah, that's a great point. And I'm no sports psychologist, so I've never really analyzed the why thing. But what you said makes a lot of sense, right? Like it's going to change, it's going to morph, and become different. And I would agree with you. I think that's okay too. Um, but going back to Cocodona, um, what would you say your favorite year was out of the three ones you've done?
I would. It's so funny because I don't think I never improved my time. It stayed around 115, 116 hours every time. But every year that I did it was I felt better. Like the first year, I just felt
Mm.
like I was surviving. It was just survival mode for 95% of the race. The second year, I felt a little bit better, and the third year was like, oh, okay, this is I know this feeling. This is what happens. So I felt kind of like I was thriving, but I don't want to say you were pushing, but I was pushing. But I think I liked the last year I did it the most because that's when it was the first year I was really truly present, I guess, because I had been working my full time COO position every other year. Um, and in 2024, late 2023, I quit that job to take on run coaching full time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I was like, I'm done with corporate America because it was actually Cocodona that showed me I own all the space in my head. Nobody can own space in my head anymore. And it's like, hey, there's something bigger out there than making money and working for somebody in a job that's kind of sucky. So, and I wasn't seeing my kids. So I was like, if I can do Cocodona, I can do anything. If we have to figure it out, we'll figure it out. So I took on coaching full time. Uh, and then in 2024, I made a documentary about it too. I hired a crew myself.
Wow.
It hasn't released wide yet. I had a couple like local showings here and there, and we had it in a bunch of different film festivals that we won some awards in.
Hey.
And I went to upload it to Amazon like later that year, and they had just switched how you load your movies to Amazon Prime. Like before, you used to be able to just upload it and have a revenue share with them, but now you need a distributor for it. Um,
Hmm.
so thankfully, I found a group that does it. It like aggregates your film together and like puts it across all platforms. So
Hmm.
hopefully, I'm hoping to have it out in like January, February timeframe of 2026 to kind of catch that Cocodona 250 wave on the way out the other way.
Well, please let me know. I'd love to share it.
Absolutely.
Well, for one, I'd love to see it, but two, I'd love
Yeah.
to, pump it up for you because that's exciting stuff, man.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it was really cool. I was like, And that is kind of the reason for the podcast too. I was like, you see all these documentaries, and they're great, like Max Jolliffe, Sally McRae, have these documentaries out there, but there's no real documentary, like a full up documentary on somebody who's, I would say, like a regular person just going out and doing it. Like I didn't have
Yeah,
sponsors for it. I paid for it out of pocket. And, I don't make the best financial decisions, but I was like, why not? I'm not going to make a return on it at all ever. But I was like, let's show what it's like to have like a real person who has a job, who trains all year while they're working, while they're with their kids and stuff like that, and maybe not be able to get in the best training that they could, and just show what it's like for them and the middle of the back of the pack kind of people to get through the race.
I love it. I mean, that's the whole purpose of what I do, right? It's
Yeah,
sharing these stories of just normal people doing incredible things, but they're just normal people. They have jobs, they've got family commitments, they've got all these commitments outside of, the second full time job of training for some of these
yeah,
larger events. I mean, you go back and add up your Strava time for training for like a 250 or 200 or something. You've got a job. That's a job.
yeah,
I mean, all that the training and planning where you're going and yeah, it's so that's awesome, man. That's exciting stuff. Good job.
yeah. Thank you.
Definitely get stuff out there because I think it really will help just like us normal people who are just trying to,
Yeah,
bring that the beautiful part of ultra to everybody that they can. Um, but you've said 200s in the past. Is Cocodona the only 200 you've done, or have you done other ones?
I just finished this year. I just finished the Mammoth 200 in October.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that was really fun too.
How is that in comparison to Cocodona? I mean, it's obviously not comparable,
Yeah,
distance wise and everything else, but just the event itself. What was it like?
I'll tell you, not having that extra 50 miles is a heck of a thing. It's like, oh man, I'm at 200 and I'm done. I don't have to run another 50, 60 miles. That's great.
Let's
Um,
go.
yeah, but besides that, like you said, they're really, I mean, it's apples and oranges. And I'm sure it is like that with, all the destination trail races too. They're just completely different terrains. I mean, you're sitting up at 8,000 feet for the most part. You peak out at like 11,000 feet of elevation. So you got to take into account some altitude training while you're training. The terrain was a little bit more forgiving than Cocodona was. I just think that first day or that first 12 hours, that 36 miles at Cocodona, that first one, you should really just base all your training around that because if you get through that, you could probably get through the rest of the race just because how demanding that section is. I didn't find anything like that in Mammoth. The terrain was a lot more forgiving. There definitely were hard sections, but nothing like that. I had that in my mind the whole time. And I was like, okay, it's not too bad. There was a section in the second day, like heading up towards the Glass Mountains, they're called, where it's just a bunch of rollers through pumice stone, and it was almost like walking in snow. That was kind of a pain,
Hmm.
but it was gorgeous, different type of gorgeous than Cocodona in the desert. Like you're up in pine trees, you're up in the Sierra Nevadas, so the Eastern Sierras, I guess they're called, and it was amazing, beautiful lakes everywhere. So I'm usually not the first on the roller coaster, but this year I was like, why not? Um, I'm probably I would like to do it again, but I may have to take a year off of racing if I don't find a sponsor for at least a race or two because it's just that the race itself plus like all the extra stuff you got to do is just it's a lot, and I don't have that COO salary anymore. So
Yeah, dude, that when I first did an Ironman, I was like shocked, like sticker shock, right? Like, oh my
yeah,
gosh, like this is crazy. And I look at the prices of these 200s and 300s now, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like what
yeah.
I paid for one of my cars at some point,
Yeah, it's like that.
It's
It's the race.
crazy.
It's the entry fee, which is like you could manage it, but then it's like the hotel that you got to book along the way. It's all your gear that you got to make, which I've added to as I've been going. But you still need your nutrition, and you never know what you're going to want, so you want to have all of it, plus all your shoes and stuff. So it adds up after a while. And I have two
Yeah.
young kids, and I'm like, I don't want to say, oh, you can't play soccer this year because Daddy has to go do a 200-mile race. I feel really bad about that.
Oh, well, it sounds like you mentioned the Destination Trail Race Series, and we just got done talking about how expensive these are.
Yeah.
That's a good segue into the Arizona Monster 300. Have you any interest in that? Maybe sometime coming up.
I mean, I'd always love to do something that's more than 250, so it's definitely on the radar. I would love to do that. I've never done a destination trail race. I just don't have an issue. I don't know why or why not. I just never had an opportunity to do it. But yeah, I would definitely do something like that. And I know Michael McKnight and Ben Light just put on it or putting on another 200 in Utah this year, which
Oh,
would be
old
really
Ephraim.
cool too. Yeah,
Yeah,
but yeah, the 300 would be fun to do too. It's just to find the right time to do it for sure.
yeah. I mean, the second you start hearing the phrase payment plan and a race fee, you're like,
I know, right?
ooh, Lord have mercy. It's
Yeah.
getting pricey.
So I might just take off 1 year. I say that, and then I probably won't. But just take off 2026 and do like some like year long goal or something like that.
Yeah. Steve, I'd be interested to ask, you've obviously built up, uh, your resume of all these different distances. Since you've done a 200 and 250, have you gone back down to 100 or 100K or 50K and raced?
Um, yeah, I've done a couple hundreds after my actually like my first official trail 100 was after Cocodona. I did Cocodona 250 before doing a 100 trail 100. I did the Mogollon Monster in 2024, I want to say, which was
Oh
really
man,
that was awesome.
like on Step Brothers. Did we just become best friends? That's my
Yeah,
favorite. That's
exactly.
my favorite 100 miler. I love the Mogollon
Yeah,
Monster. It
it was incredible.
Yeah. And so you did it in 24.
Yeah,
Okay, cool. I was pacing my buddy up there. That's the year he did it.
yeah.
But I that well, that's why I asked you. Is it's so interesting when I've gone from the longer distances down to the shorter ones, and I say shorter like it's
As
still
short
a
as
hundred
100
miles.
miles.
It's just
Yeah.
it coming out of my mouth. I'm just like that sounds ridiculous. Like you sound really silly. But yes, it's going down to a shorter distance from where you were training for. I don't know about you, but for me, it was so interesting. You have this I had this 200 miler mindset. You go into these shorter races, it's like, oh crap, I gotta go. Like we gotta keep
Yeah,
moving. Like we gotta go fast.
yeah. I gotta hit these cutoffs, man.
Yeah. Well, I'd love
Yeah,
to hear about the Mogia Monster because it's one of my favorite races. What did you think about the Monster?
I really enjoyed it. Two of my friends were like, "Hey, if we pay for your entry, will you pace us the entire way?" And I was like,
Hey.
"Absolutely." I was like, "Yeah." So we were. I was going, which was probably good because I would have gone out way too fast. But so I was making sure I was keeping them. We were probably staying like an hour and a half to an hour ahead of the cutoffs. We're kind of right where we should. And then at mile 21, as you're coming up out of the rim, like to the first main big aid station, it like started hailing and pouring on us in like a thunderstorm, which was crazy. I loved it. I was like, oh, this is what ultra running is about. Like just being out in the elements, just trying to figure out how to get it done. But unfortunately, one of my friends, he dropped out at mile 21. He just started going down. Like we were, averaging a pretty decent pace. And then like that last mile was like a half hour per mile pace, just climbing up that big mountain. And he was like, you know what? I'm not going to be able to keep up with you guys, and I don't want to ruin your races. So you guys go. So then we continued, made it through the storm until about mile 41, 42. And then my other friend was like, all right, he was having some heart issues.
Ooh.
And so he did the right thing and stopped. But then it was like mile 50, and they're like, all right, you can finish it. And I was like, man, we're so close to the cutoffs. Like, I got to move, man. So they crewed me for the rest of the race, which was awesome. But I had to negative split the race just to finish it. And I think the cutoff is like 38 hours, which tells you right away that it's a really difficult 100 miler because it's a 38-hour cutoff. And I finished it in 37, and I had to negative split it. I think I was running there's a couple sections, and I got lost like at mile like 60 or 70 for like 2 miles. I got lost
Oh,
off course. So I was getting into that aid station. I was hitting like 8 minute miles just trying to get to the cutoff. Um, and I tell all my athletes, I I really don't want you to hand your bib in at an aid station. I'd want, even if you think you're not going to make the next one, like within reason. If you're injured or something, don't do that. But because the second you hand your bib in, 10 minutes later, you're going to feel better and you're going to be like, crap, I wish I kept going. So every time I hit a cutoff, and I was like, man, now I got to keep going because I tell all my athletes, you can't stop at an aid station. So I was like, I wish I didn't tell them that.
yeah.
So yeah, I just kept, every time I hit the aid station, I was like, damn, I hit another cutoff. But yeah, just kept moving and kept trucking, and I don't think a negative split a 100 miler ever before or after.
That's so
But yeah,
awesome.
just kept moving. And that's another gorgeous course. It's another brutal Arizona race, just up and down the Mogollon Rim like 7 times, I think it is. And that last section by Hell's Gate, that's pretty rough. It was super hot.
Yeah, that's what's so incredible about the monster is the time of year it's being held is the monsoon season.
Yeah,
So anytime I've been up there, there's always weather. And it just swings like crazy. It's either incredibly hot or you're freezing and there's hail, snows. The year I did it, there was so much hail, it looked like snow on the ground.
yeah, that's what it
It's
looked like.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah,
And you're dressed for, at least I don't know about you, but I was wearing nothing, it's because it's so
yeah,
hot. And then now I'm freezing, walking backwards on the top of the rim because the wind is coming so hard.
yeah.
It's just such a wild race. I love that race.
It is.
One of the true gems here in Arizona.
Yeah,
And for anyone who wants to travel to Pine, don't go to Pine. It's the worst place in Arizona. Don't ever go. Stay away. I'm just kidding. It's
yeah,
beautiful. Go enjoy it. It's a beautiful place. Pine and that whole area up there's that's incredible. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you a little bit about coaching. And you've given me so much time already this evening, so I don't want to, dive into something that's going to take us an hour. But if you wouldn't mind, I recently had a coach, and I was going through some really hard personal times, like
hmm,
nothing to do with running, nothing to do with anything in that realm, and it was really really hard for me. And my coach did really help me. Not like a psychologist or anything, but he helped me
yeah,
through a lot of that, providing perspective around running and quit beating yourself up about this. So I'd love to hear some, maybe obviously, don't break your HIPAA and tell us
yeah.
people's names, but if you wouldn't mind sharing maybe some really incredible success stories from coaching, because I think that there really are incredible stuff that's happened in that coaching dynamic, that coaching relationship.
Yeah, and I like that too because it just takes the burden off of the athlete to figure out a plan. Like if you have a plan on and you really trust your coach and you just go and execute the plan that they laid out for you, that you've kind of together come up with, I think that's hugely beneficial because you're not expending that mental energy, like stressing about that while other stresses are going on. But I mean, I think one of the best success stories is my mom. I actually coached my mom,
All
and
right.
she had before last year. She's 62. She turned 63 this year. She had only run like 5Ks, maybe like once in her life, a 10K once. So she trained for pretty much the entire year for the Blackbeard's Revenge 100 miler in North Carolina, kind of out by,
Wow.
yeah, they live along the course. So she was like, first my dad wanted to do it, and then she was training with my dad because they're retired and she didn't want to train alone. So they were just doing the training by themselves and then my dad in November developed kidney stones and then he had a hernia surgery. So he's like, I'm not going to be able to do the race. So then my mom took his bib and was like, I'll buy your bib. So yeah, I trained her at 62. She did her first official in a race. She did her first official half marathon, 50K and 50 miler. She made it 54 miles of the 100 miler, which
Wow.
was incredible.
That's
Um,
incredible.
yeah. And from never having run before, we just walked it. We just did a run walk strategy, 4 minutes on, 2 minutes off. and I was thankful I was able to go out and run with her for that whole time. Um,
How
and then
cool
she
is
told me to
that?
keep going the other 50 miles. Um, but then this year we're going to go back in March, and she's going to get her buckle. I have a 100% confidence that she'll get her buckle this year because she's a year stronger, and she knows like where the mental traps can get you. And I think she
Yeah.
didn't really know that going in before, not having run that far ever, even in training. Um, like we did some different types of training where she did like a 4x4x48 one weekend to kind of get her used to running tired and stuff like that. But it's, you don't really have a race perspective until you're in a race. And
Yeah, yeah. And how are you gonna simulate 50 miles deep into a
yeah,
race
exactly.
unless you
Yeah.
do it, right?
Yeah.
That is so cool. I'm so
Yeah. It was
glad you
awesome.
shared that story. That is so, I mean, my dad is 70 something and he's done some ultras with me and he paced me at Cocodona and that was so special. So I can't even imagine
Yeah.
what that would be like. How cool is that? That's so awesome.
Yeah. It's going to be amazing. Like, I just think about like what it'll be like when she gets her buckle at the 100, at the finish line. So she wants to beat the record for women's 60 to 69, which I think is 28 hours. And it's a flat course. We were on pace to be pretty close to that. So I think if we just do a couple things differently, she's going to have no problem.
Dude, how cool is your mom? What a boss. She's
Yeah.
like, not only am I going to do it, tell me what the record is for my age group because I'm going to beat
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
I love
Yeah, it's
it. That
awesome.
is so rad. Well, good for her. That's awesome. That see, ultra is just the coolest sport. It's something that, like, at any age. I mean, obviously not 105. I don't think there's someone running around 105, but there's really no age barrier. Gender. You get beat by a girl, hands down.
I get
Uh,
smashed by them all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. It's this great space for athletics where it's just this great equalizer, and the course is just gonna, the mountain never lies. You can't cheat the mountain, right? It's gonna
Exactly.
win, and I don't know. I just think ultra is just the coolest place for this. Where your mom's doing it, my dad's doing it. It's just the coolest
Yeah.
thing. So exciting. Well, I always like to end my podcast with giving my guests the last word, maybe a shout out to somebody. We just gave your mom an awesome shout out, but shout out to your wife for being awesome crew chief, number
Oh,
one.
she's the best crew chief.
Yes. Which, by the way, you guys have a great marriage because I don't know if my wife and I would last if she was crewing me. I'm just kidding. She's amazing. She's incredibly supportive anytime I go out. But I'd love to give you the guest the last word. Maybe shout people out, tell us about your business, whatever it is. Your mantra you live by. But I'll turn the time over to you, Steve, to wrap us up.
Yeah, so I appreciate that. Yeah, if you want to visit SoCalRunnerCoaching.com, that's where I do all my coaching. And our motto there, I have two other coaches with me. Our motto there is you're going to go further than you think, um, which I think is a great motto because we like having people with a goal that's just outside their comfort zone. Um, Really, if it's your first time in an ultra, that's kind of our sweet spot. Or the first time jumping up in distance, that's a little bit scary. We're right there for you. Um, and then my co-host would probably kill me if I didn't talk about. We have a podcast too. It's called Blueprint to Ultra.
I love it.
Me and Jeff Winchester host it. So it's kind of the same thing as our deal here, which is a great. I think it's not like competition. It's just growing a bigger pie for everybody. I think
Yes,
we talk about like some of the tactical things, and we talk to everybody about setting their own blueprint to their own ultra. So you can take bits and pieces from each of our guests and put it to your blueprint, what works for you and what doesn't work for you, and you can kind of build your own blueprint from there.
I love it. That's awesome. Awesome stuff. Well, listen, Steve, thank you so much for jumping on. You've been so generous with your time, and I appreciate. We had a little reschedule snafu on my end, so thank you for that. You've been
No
so
problem.
patient with that. And please send me like all your links and details. I'll put it all in the show notes and everything because I want people to
Okay.
find you, find your podcast, all that stuff. Like you said, I want this thing to grow. I'd love Ultra just to become bigger and bigger. Except I don't love the
Absolutely.
lotteries, but Well,
Yeah.
it's a part of it. I get it. I get it. But
Yeah.
let's keep growing the sport. It's incredible. People like you make the sport great. So thank you so much for joining,
Thank you.
and have a great night.
You too.
Take care.